Here's a truth that might make you uncomfortable. The very people training Google's AI to sound more human just got replaced by the machines they were perfecting. Over 200 specialized contractors who spent their days making Google's artificial intelligence smarter, more nuanced, and eerily human-like found themselves suddenly jobless last month. But here's where it gets controversial. These weren't just random layoffs. These terminations happened right in the middle of workers' attempts to organize for better treatment, creating a chilling narrative about what happens when you bite the hand that feeds you in the AI industry. For years, Google has been quietly farming out one of its most crucial AI development tasks to thousands of external contractors working through companies like Hitachi-owned Global Logic. These aren't your typical tech workers. We're talking about highly educated specialists, many holding master's degrees or PhDs, who are brought in specifically for their expertise in language, writing, and creative thinking. Their mission? Teaching Google's Gemini chatbot and other AI systems how to respond like actual humans rather than awkward robots. Think of them as AI tutors, spending their days evaluating whether an artificial intelligence's response sounds natural, makes logical sense, and draws from reliable sources. They're the invisible workforce behind Google's search summaries feature, called AI Overviews, those helpful little AI-generated answers that pop up when you search for something. Without these human trainers, your AI interactions would probably sound about as natural as a customer service script from 1995. But here's the part most people miss, and it's deeply troubling. According to internal documents that surfaced during this controversy, Global Logic appears to be using these human experts to train an AI system that will eventually, wait for it, automatically rate AI responses. In other words, these workers are literally teaching machines to do their own jobs, creating the very technology that will make them obsolete. Andrew Lawson experienced this harsh reality firsthand when he received a cold, impersonal email on August 15th, informing him his services were no longer needed. "I was just cut off," Lawson explained, describing how he asked for an explanation only to receive the vague corporate speak response about a project ramp-down. Having joined Global Logic just 5 months earlier, in March 2024, Lawson had been deeply involved in rating AI outputs and developing creative prompts to test the system's capabilities. The timing of these mass terminations raises serious questions about retaliation. Workers describe an increasingly hostile environment where their attempts to organize for better working conditions were met with systematic suppression. Despite handling what they characterize as highly skilled, high-stakes work that requires advanced education and specialized knowledge, 8 different workers interviewed described being significantly underpaid while dealing with constant job insecurity and deteriorating working conditions. Let's talk numbers for a moment, because this is where the controversy gets really heated. When Google first launched its Super Rater program in spring 2023, workers hired directly through Global Logic earned between $28 and $32 per hour. Sounds reasonable for specialized work requiring advanced degrees, right? But here's the ticker. When Global Logic started using third-party contractors to rapidly scale up hiring, those new workers performing identical tasks were paid just $18 to $22 per hour. Same work, same qualifications, vastly different pay. How's that for fair compensation in the AI revolution? Ricardo Lavario, a teacher from Texas who was among the first wave of super raters, witnessed this transformation firsthand. Initially hired to work on what was then called Google's Search Generative Experience, now known as AI Overviews. Lavario's job involved determining how well the AI model performed and rewriting its responses to ensure accuracy and proper source citation. After the success of this pilot, we learned that Google was interested in growing the program, and they were going to bring on cohorts of 20 people every week, Lavario recalled. noting that the company eventually scaled up to employ as many as 2,000 superrators across Google's AI projects. The working conditions tell an even more disturbing story. Take Alex, a generalist rater who was hired in 2023 to evaluate bot outputs across a range of topics, from simple restaurant recommendations to more complex and sometimes inappropriate queries. Despite being pulled into increasingly demanding projects over time, Alex reports receiving no meaningful pay increases. More troubling, she estimates that roughly 80% of her project colleagues remain on contract work without benefits or paid time off, creating a two-tiered system where full-time employees work alongside a vast underclass of benefit-free contractors. And this is the part most people miss about the modern AI industry: the incredible pressure these workers face. Alex describes how recent projects implemented 5-minute timers for each task, creating an environment where speed takes precedence over quality. "I don't even keep count of how many I do in a day," she explained. "I just focus more on my timer than anything else." It's gone from mentally stimulating work to mind-numbing. The company has reportedly threatened workers with job loss if they can't meet these aggressive time targets, transforming creative, analytical work into a factory line operation. But here's where it gets controversial. The workers tried to fight back, and that's when things got really ugly. By late 2023, frustrated workers created a WhatsApp group called Super Secret Secondary Location, with around 80 members, where they began discussing ways to organize for better treatment. By spring 2024, some of these workers connected with the Alphabet Workers Union to explore creating a global logic chapter specifically for AI raters. "We started building the movement underground," Livario explained. "We were essentially laying down the foundation for our union, developing our systems." By December 2024, their chapter had grown to 18 committed members. Then Global Logic made a move that many workers interpreted as directly targeting their organizing efforts. In July, the company suddenly mandated that workers in Austin, Texas, return to office work. A decision that directly impacted several employees who either couldn't afford the commute due to financial constraints or couldn't report to physical offices due to disabilities or caregiving responsibilities. Coincidence? Many workers think not. The situation exploded in January, when a departing worker left messages on social channels and via email encouraging colleagues to organize. This opened the floodgates, as Livario put it, leading to widespread conversations about working conditions and pay inequality across the company's social platforms. Global Logic's response was swift and heavy-handed. They began deleting discussion threads and restricting access to social channels that had previously allowed remote workers to connect and build community. These weren't work-related channels. We're talking about Google chat spaces for various interest groups, including LGBTQ+ employees, gamers, and writers. "The social spaces helped us to feel less robotic and more human," explained Faith Frontera, who worked as a generalist rater for Gemini and Google's Magi project. "It's important, especially in a remote environment where you don't get to see your co-workers face-to-face." The elimination of these community spaces created what workers describe as an increasingly isolating and hostile work environment. Despite the restrictions, Livario continued engaging on social channels, which led to a warning meeting about policy violations. When he filed a whistleblower complaint with parent company Hitachi, the response was swift and brutal. 4 days later, he received a termination notice during a 5-minute phone call, officially fired for violating the social spaces policy. This pattern isn't unique to Google's contractors. Mila Micelli, a research lead at Dare Institute who works with AI data workers globally, describes this as a standard playbook. "We've seen this in other places. Almost every outsourcing company doing data work where workers have tried to collectivize and organize. This has been difficult. They have suffered retaliation. Similar struggles are happening worldwide, from Kenyan AI data labelers forming the Data Labelers Association to content moderators across Kenya, Turkey, and Colombia creating a global trade union alliance. Google's response to these allegations? Pure corporate deflection. These individuals are employees of Global Logic or their subcontractors, not Alphabet. Spokesperson Courtney Mancini stated, essentially washing their hands of responsibility for the working conditions of people directly contributing to their AI products. Global Logic declined to comment entirely. Those workers who remain at Global Logic describe living in fear. It's just been kind of an oppressive atmosphere, Alex confided. We can't really organize. We're afraid that if we talk, we're going to get fired or laid off. This climate of fear ensures that the remaining workforce stays quiet while potentially training the very AI systems that will eliminate their positions. Here's the uncomfortable question we need to ask. Is this the future of work in the AI age? A world where highly educated, specialized workers live in constant fear of termination while training machines to replace them, where attempts to organize for basic dignity and fair compensation are met with swift retaliation. And this is the part that should make everyone uncomfortable. These aren't just isolated incidents. They represent a broader pattern of how the AI industry treats the human workers who make artificial intelligence possible. The same workers who are making AI more human are being treated as increasingly disposable. What do you think? Are we witnessing the emergence of a new digital feudalism where AI companies extract maximum value from human expertise while offering minimal job security or fair compensation in return? Or is this simply the natural evolution of a competitive industry where workers need to adapt or be left behind? Should companies like Google bear responsibility for the working conditions of contractors who directly contribute to their core products? Or is the current system of corporate shell games acceptable? Share your thoughts. Do you believe these workers are getting a fair deal, or are we watching the AI industry exploit the very people who make their technology possible?